Our next guest is Russell Ivanovic from Shifty Jelly. Now, you might have read about him recently in the news, writing about some of his more interesting experiences on the Android marketplace. But today he's going to keep it iOS and discuss... Oh, let me just move past that lunch thing and load up the next presentation and invite Russell to the stage. Thanks, guys.
Let's start, eh? Whoop. I think they just swapped by itself. This is a bit scary. What I thought I'd do today, Anthony's given me 20 minutes. I thought I can kind of maybe give you a bit of background into Shifty Jelly, how we sort of came to be where we are now. You know, the kind of things we've done, and this is moving all by itself. All right, hopefully it doesn't keep doing that. Now I've got to say first of all that obviously neither of us are designers. And our designer's like a pixel perfect sort of guy, so I asked him, you know, can you help me out? He's like, yeah, do you have 2 months? And I thought, oh, I don't actually have 2 months, so maybe I'll just do the slides by myself. Anyway, while they're sort of getting that back up, I guess to think about the history of Shifty Jelly is, the first thing is really the name. That was kind of one of the first things we came up with, and back then we weren't even really thinking about starting a company or sort of, you know, leaving our jobs or anything like that, but we thought if we're going to come up with a name, it has to be something that, you know, will never be caught like in a boardroom with IBM or something like that, and they'll be like, oh, we outsource all our IT to, you know, Shifty Jelly, hey. Because we thought, you know, with a name like that, it's just not going to happen. You have to, you know, pick something quirky enough that, because our goal was always to make products and never to sort of, you know, do corporate IT sort of stuff, we thought if we pick a name like that, then at least, you know, we can kind of set our sights on that sort of initial goal. So as part of this, I guess the first thing we came up with is this cuddly little blue man sort of in the corner there. So he kind of started off as a kind of green blob with an outline, and holy cow. And sort of, we kind of eventually ended up with this blue sort of jelly, and that was kind of the symbol of, I guess, the company we were trying to make, just a fun little shifty looking guy. We didn't want him to look too serious or too corporate. Yeah, now I do want the slide, you're right. So just a quick disclaimer here. Some parts of this presentation move quite quickly. Well, at least I'm not nervous. This is good. Some parts of this presentation are subjective. Not all the facts are actual facts. You have to figure out which ones are facts and which ones aren't for yourself. And it's our personal experience. So you may try exactly the same things we did, and you may come to a totally different outcome. You know, there's no guarantees. It's the App Store. It's crazy. We're just switching slides. It's good. So yeah. So don't take everything I say as gospel. You know, it may or may not work. We got ourselves one of the first iPhones in Australia. Just, I'm sure many of you guys did this as well. But I convinced my brother-in-law to import 9 of them using his money, which was a good thing. And then you know, we flogged 6 of them off on eBay. Gave a few to friends and that sort of thing, and got to keep one, which is pretty cool. So, you know, I was fascinated by this device. You know, I guess there were smartphones before that, but it was kind of the first one that sort of, you know, just made sense. Every single function on there seemed to work, and it was all kind of fluid and whatever else. And then a year later, Apple launched their App Store and gave away their free developer kit. And I, like many developers, you know, I downloaded that. I thought, this is cool. I opened it once. I ran, you know, Hello World or whatever was on there, and then I closed it because really I didn't have time to mess with this sort of thing. And then the funny thing happened, I actually, and we'll jump around here a bit maybe. I'll give you the quick outline anyway. In September of 2008, we released Pocket Weather. I'm hoping most of you have here Pocket Weather, and hopefully not the free version. Unlike James, was it James? I do like the money. Not lots of money, but a little bit of money would be nice, so that my wife doesn't hassle me. And these days, you know, about 1 in 9 Australians have Pocket Weather on their phone, and we're just blown away by that. We didn't really plan that. We didn't look for a market segment to target or whatever. We were just there in the early days, and we wanted weather, and that's just how it came about. I mean, really, it's a terrible name, Pocket Weather AU. I mean, it's not very good. The icon back then was rubbish, to say the least. And you know, we always ask ourselves, what the heck happened? Like, you know, 3 years later, we're one of Australia's you know, most popular iPhone apps. Can I push down on here? Hey, look at that. So to start at the beginning, what happened, like I said, I downloaded the SDK, forgot about it pretty quickly, and then it was literally only maybe 3 or 4 weeks later I actually snapped my Achilles tendon playing soccer. And that gave me a lot of time. You don't get to walk for 8 weeks when you do that, so don't try that at home, kids, is my advice. And it hurt, and I kind of had to sit down for ages, and I thought, what do I do now? Like, the place that I was working at the time, they sort of shipped my iMac out. They shipped the wrong keyboard, by the way. That's why I'm looking very angry in that photo. They sent me one of those stupid plasticky ones instead of the nice new aluminum ones, or aluminium if you're in Australia. And then I kind of got to work. I do kind of my day job for 7 hours or whatever it took, and then I kind of had a spare few hours where I was still meant to be working. And I kind of taught myself iPhone development. I got into the SDK. There wasn't a lot of documentation around. Obviously, it was all under sort of non-disclosure and everything back then. But, a month later, I came up with a design masterpiece that is Pocket Sounds. It's still in the store for free. We just do that for fun. It's not the most polished app. It doesn't. You press the cow and the cow goes moo. It was kind of. I had really young kids. I built it for them, and it literally took me a month. I mean, it was only an hour a day, but it was a month-long project because, you first open Interface Builder or whatever, and it looks nice and easy. Drag this, drag that, and then you think, what do I do now? How do I hook this up to something? Like, how do I make it do something? How do I make it play sound? How do I transition from this screen to that screen? How do I do a scroll view? All those sort of things that, I kind of had to teach myself. And I mean, it was good fun. I mean, the end result wasn't that brilliant, but it was good fun. And so there's the other half of Shifty Jelly. So I generally do a lot of the iPhone sort of development. That's just how it's worked out. And the other half is Philip, who's kind of sitting down the back there. Again, just like Alex and Jeff, we don't live together because there's nothing wrong with that, but that would be weird if we worked together and lived together. And Philip and I both had an enterprise Java background, so we've been doing sort of enterprise Java development for about 7 years. Towards the end of that, we actually worked at the same company sort of together, I guess just like Jeff and Alex did. And I guess Philip had found a new love. He'd found this thing called Ruby on Rails, and it was fast, it was efficient, it was clean, there was hardly any code involved. It was all sort of what is it, convention over configuration or something like that. And he'd really fallen in love with it. But obviously the place we were working, we were doing large-scale enterprise Java deployments, and they were never going to take on something like Ruby on Rails. That would be insane, because it doesn't scale and it doesn't this, and it doesn't require 24 servers to run like one little website. And you can run it on less than 65 gigabytes of RAM, and who's going to buy that? That's crazy. So we started doing stuff on our own, and I guess cubicle life was getting a bit old. We're kind of over the whole deploy stuff to enterprises who don't care about software and don't bother trying to make it quality, just meet the requirements and all that sort of stuff. And so, very stereotypically, the first thing we did, of course, was a CMS shopping site, because that's the first thing everyone builds in Rails is a CMS site. So my sister sold a business that she had, and as part of that, she'd been doing all the sort of HTML and stuff on her own. And she said, look, before I can sell this business to someone non-technical, I need some way for them to go in and manage products and whatever else. And that's kind of the first time Philip and I worked together. So we got together and we figured out how to build this system, and we kind of hacked it out in our nights, and that was kind of the first thing that we built. And back then, we didn't even know how to run a business. So I set myself up as a sole trader because that was free. You could register your business name as your own name. None of us were really employed. We just had a deal that, look, you get this percentage, I get this percentage, and that's how we roll. We're all just contractors, basically. There's a lot of late nights, a lot of terrible code was written, because I don't know how you guys find it, but I find after a certain point, if you keep writing code past 1 or 2 a.m., it gets worse and worse and worse, and you think it's great. You look at it, you think, that's amazing, how did I do that? And then 2 weeks later, you look at it, and you go, oh my God, like, what the hell was I thinking? And so the next idea we kind of had is, we thought, what can we do next? CMS shopping carts are not really why we want to kind of quit our day jobs or whatever. They're almost as boring as enterprise Java deployments. No offense to anyone who makes CMS stuff here, but we thought we wanted a weather app. There was nothing on the iPhone that had Australian weather. You had that sort of janky, Yahoo weather or whatever comes with the iPhone, and it was always 5 or 6 degrees out. And we thought, why don't we just build a weather app? And kind of the first hurdle we had is we had to pay $120 to Apple to become registered developers. And we thought about that. We thought, $120, that's a lot of money. Like, are we ever going to see this money again? And I don't know, I was quite risk averse, and I think so was Philip. And you know what, we may never see this money again. I don't think it's a good idea. But in the end, we convinced ourselves we're going to pay this huge sum of money to Apple to become registered developers. And a few months later, Pocket Weather was born. Again, sort of late nights while still being full-time employed elsewhere, and it was good fun. You know, we're on the couch, we're on chat, we're kind of just bouncing stuff forward. We didn't have a plan. We weren't trying to sort of cover a niche or feel some kind of. We didn't think we'd even make like $120 back, to be honest. And then, sort of 3 years on, and Spot Who kind of deleted some of our data at one point. That's why some of it's quite flat. But you can see, like 3 years on, it's still doing quite well. I mean, if anything, because the market is growing, you know, more and more people every day sort of have iPhones in Australia. We're almost doing better now than we used to, you know, when we first launched, which is quite amazing because I'll never forget this day. We first released Pocket Weather to the market, and we thought, you know, we could get 2 or 3 sales here. It's going to be good. And then I was at my brother's Bucks night. I think we were just getting ready to go out somewhere, and I had that sort of original iPhone on whatever it was, GPRS. So, you know, you get that little circle that just basically means don't bother browsing the internet because you're going to be here for like 30 minutes. And I get it up, and that was our app. It was in the top 50, and I'm like, oh my God, like we're in the top 50. And then, you know, half an hour later, oh, we're in the top 40. And then, you know, then we're in the top 30, then we're in the top 20. And we got in the top 10, I think, that night. And we're just like, whoa, what does this mean? And then the next day we made it to number 1. And I think we sat at number 1 for sort of 3 or 4 weeks, and we were just blown away. Like we didn't expect to make any money. We didn't even expect people to want our app. Like it wasn't really that polished or anything back then. And it was unbelievable. You know, we made it to number 1. We thought, wow, you know, this is cool. Like, you know, being an app developer, that's kind of cool. And we were still, like I said, we were both still employed back then. And suddenly we realised we could actually do what we wanted to do and get paid for it, and then not have to do all this sort of enterprise Java-y sort of stuff. The problem is they're a bit slow, and I guess on the uptake, and we're quite sort of risk averse as well. So it was literally 2 years later when we decided to go out on our own. Any other sort of smart person would have done that sort of 2 years earlier, but I guess I had a, you know, family, 2 kids, and Philip had I think a wife and two dogs, which apparently I'm told is almost the same kind of thing. Like dogs are as much maintenance as kids sometimes, and so yeah, it was 2 years later that we decided, you know, what the hell are we still doing here? Like we're still doing enterprise Java development. We're still, you know, working for all these boring clients. We're still doing stuff we don't really care about. Like it's. I mean, I still had passion for what I was doing, but it's you know, it's hard to get passion sometimes. And the final project to work on, and I kid you not, was actually a prepaid funeral site. So you get to choose your casket, you get to choose your fittings, and that was the end for me. I thought, what the hell? What the hell? Like really? Caskets, really? Prepaid, this is excellent. Like, you know, customers come in and they get to choose, you know, and I thought, no, I've had enough of this. Like, Phil had kind of sort of reached the same point. He was working on sort of the same project for, I think, 2.5 years at that point. Like, it was just dragging on and on and on. We thought, why don't we just leave? Let's do it. So we sort of went hunting around Adelaide, and we thought, you know, unlike kind of the traditional developer thing, like I can't work from home. I got 2 kids, and as soon as they figure out you're in the office, they're onto you. You know, dun, dun. And it's really depressing. Like you don't want to sort of be stuck in the office with your kids outside, and you don't want to really kind of work the late nights either. So we kind of went hunting for an office, and we found, you know, the only logical one we could, one with a pool on top, sauna, spa, and a really nice view of High Marsh Square for those of you that have ever been in Adelaide. And that, you know, that's not for everyone, but that was key for us, that we had somewhere that we felt like, you know, we could see the outside world. We weren't in a box anymore. We were kind of, maybe it's metaphorical, I don't know, but we were kind of free, you know. We didn't have to kind of be bound by all these things anymore. And I've only ever been swimming in that pool once, but, you know, it was a good place to start. I'll give you some quick boring figures here, and I'm going to have to turn around. I was expecting these to be on here, but so we've had about 420,000 downloads of Pocket Weather. I put light in really small font there so you can't see it. That's the free version. We don't normally give out paid numbers. And in total, we've had almost 1 million downloads, you know, of all our apps. That includes all our sort of free apps and paid apps, which is really mind-blowing when you think about it, when the majority of stuff we do is actually just for Australia. This is one we're really proud of. A lot of our apps, you know, like Pocket Weather, have a 4.5-star rating, and that's kind of, we don't pay too much attention to the App Store and the reviews that people leave on there. I don't think we even read them anymore. I'm sorry if you've left one. We used to sort of religiously read them back in the day, but it's really cool just to see so many people leave 5-star reviews and, you know, talk about the kind of stuff that is done for them. We had an email from Steve Jobs a few years back when they pulled one of our apps from the store. That was good fun. And we've more recently, like Pete was saying, we've been involved with Amazon, and we had a bit of a blow up with them, and we sort of got 100,000 downloads in a day and that kind of thing. And actually today, for the first time ever, like I checked the stats, and we actually sold more on Android than iPhone. So there's a stat for you. I don't know if that'll continue, but that was today. And so then I thought, what about you? You know, presumably you've come here because, you know, you're a developer, or maybe you're a designer, or maybe you like the free food, but then you realise the food wasn't free because you actually had to pay to come here. So, you know, so I'm going to give you, I guess what we like to call Shifty Jelly's 5 tips for world domination and supreme awesomeness. Now, we're going to get a patent on that, and it's trademarked, so you can't use it, but you can use the advice I'm about to give you. And I think it's quite good. This is kind of the stuff that that we've been using sort of all along. I've got to give you number 0 though, because it's very important, and that's that you must keep your pants on in the office at all times, because we don't work at Bajango, guys. All right, we're not Mark Edwards. That was our number 1 rule. He said, well, look, if I'm going to work in an office with anyone, they better be wearing pants. All right. I don't care how hot you are. I'm sorry. So, number 1 rule is, and I mean this seriously, don't be a dick. All right. Whether you're dealing with clients, whether you're dealing with other developers, whether you're dealing with your customers, you know, through support emails and stuff, and just in the way you run your business as well. I mean, there are a lot of ways to make money. You know, you can be Lodsys, you can be intellectual ventures, you can be a patent troll, you can suck millions out of developers potentially. You know, that there are a lot of ways to make money. If you're going to go into the App Store, and if you want to become, I guess, part of our community, and I like to think of it as an actual community, like I think most of us are pretty friendly to each other. That's the number 1 rule, courtesy of Mr. Will Wheaton there. Don't be a dick, seriously. Like, and I don't say that to be condescending. I just say that to mean that, you know, if you're going to get involved, like, do it for the right reasons, you know, and be courteous to all the other guys out there as well. You'll find they're quite friendly. And also, if you make a weather app, we'll break your legs, all right? An Australian one, anyway. The second one is my personal favourite. This is like my mantra. It's just don't talk about it. Just do it. Like, every time you catch yourself saying, you know, we should really do this, you know, just slap yourself and go and do it. Like, we used to have this all the time. We'd be like, you know, we should really, you know, catch up with this person, or we should really build this app, or we should really, you know, do this that's going to make our lives easier. And 9 times out of 10, you just go, just freaking do it. Like, stop talking about it. Like, you can talk till the cows come home. You can probably have started on it in the same amount of time that it took to explain someone, you know, what am I going to do in 6 months' time? Just start it now. Just do it. I had to include a cat picture as well. That was mandatory. So number 3, and I think Mark was already talking about this, is, and I agree, ideas are cheap. You know, anyone can have an idea. It's free. It doesn't cost you money. It might be the most brilliant, you know, best idea in the world, but at the end of the day, it's free. There's no cost to having an idea. Everybody has an idea. I had a shower this morning. I had lots of ideas. You know, some of them were good, some of them are bad, and I'm not trying to put ideas down, but I do really think that on their own they're useless. Especially when they're unimplemented. So you might be kind of sitting here today and you've got an idea and you think, you know, what the App Store really needs is one of these. And what I'm saying to you is, that's fine. Don't make me sign an NDA, you know, to tell me about it. Just go and do it. Like, don't try and protect your idea so much that you never do your idea. You know, we get clients come to us and stuff, and they're like, oh, we've got this greatest idea, it's going to make millions, but we're not going to tell you about it until you sign this piece of paper. And our policy is simple. We don't sign NDAs anymore. You know, if your idea is really that good, like, you know, just execute it. You know, get someone to help you out. Get us to help you out. That doesn't matter. Like, don't just hold on to it for so much and make everything about the idea that you don't actually end up implementing the idea. Because that's the tragedy sometimes. Some of these ideas are good, but people spend so much time trying to figure out, you know, how they're going to protect their idea and how they're going to, you know, protect their future investment and all this stuff that they don't end up doing it. And that's sad, if you ask me. So number 4 is laser focus. This is something we don't have. You know, I probably shouldn't be giving tips about something we don't have, but this is something you really need when there's only 2 of us at Shifty Jelly, 2 developers, 1 part-time designer that sort of comes in 2.5 days a week, and it's very easy to burn through the time. You know, you can spend weeks doing nothing effectively. You can do other stuff. You can be doing things that don't, you know, actually deliver products. But what we found is when we set kind of really tight deadlines, when we tell ourselves, you know, we're gonna have something out in 3 weeks, and it's going to be this, and it's going to have exactly this, that's when we get heaps of stuff done. You know, we kind of crank the music in the office, and that's when I get the most enjoyment out of it as well. I really feel like, you know, something's happening. We're being productive. We're building things, you know, which is kind of like why you do this whole thing, because you want to build cool stuff. And I guess it's very hard to build things unless you've actually got that focus. And some of the mistakes we've made as well is that sometimes we just start too many things. You know, we've got Pocket Weather for iPhone, we've started Pocket Weather for Android, we've got this new thing, Pocket Cast, that we've been working on for the iPhone. We've now done that sort of on Android as well, and we've got all these other apps that we've kind of wanted to do and are doing and sort of doing on the side at the same time. It's almost like we've started too many things. We've kind of lost that focus. When we were just working on just one thing, like Pocket Weather, it was brilliant. You know, we could focus on it, we could kind of put the best features in there and that kind of thing. But now that we've kind of got 10 different things on the go, like, yes, it's good to be busy, but on the other hand, you kind of lose where you're meant to be going, and it just kind of slows everything down. When you're always kind of thinking about 10 things instead of one thing, it just takes a lot longer. So tip number 5 is one of my sort of personal peeves as well, is that SEO really is evil, all right? Just get that into you. If you're busy worrying about how to monetize your great idea, then I reckon you've already failed. If that's your top priority is how you're going to figure out, you know, there's this many customers and they'll all pay $10 each, and then we'll get advertisers involved, and then we'll do this, you know. That's all well and good, but you've forgotten about what you're actually building. You're building a product that people are meant to want to use. And who's going to want to use your product if the entire product is all about how you're going to get money out of them? And I'm not quite with James from Alien Blue about this one. I think, like I was saying before, I think it's important to make money because it makes life comfortable. But if that's all you're worried about, you know, if you want to become an app developer, you know, just so you can figure out, you know, I've got this idea and then there's this advertising here and this here. And we've had clients come to us like that. They have a website. So this will be their website. And they're like, okay, ads, SEO, this, links here, same links here. I'm like, what the hell, guys? Like, this is not a website. This is an advertising page, and it's a bad one at that. It's, you know, no one's going to click any of these things. No one's even going to come to your site. You know, I don't know how you think people are going to click on your links if your entire site just looks like a link farm, basically. Like, you've got to build the product first. You know, we try and redirect people to, you know, get all those ads off there. Like, build a decent product, and then sure, if you want like a, you know, banner ad, or you want some kind of advertising to be involved, like, fine, but get the high quality stuff. Oh yeah, I did. I put in number 6. I only said there was 5. Oh yeah. So I'm serious about this first one. Is use App Store reviews as human material, because quite often you get people hassling you on there. They'll say the worst things you've ever heard from human beings, you know, because they think they're anonymous and they're leaving you comments. We had one guy who updated his review every single week. 1 star to bag us, you know, to pay us out and whatever else. And he wasn't even trying to be funny. Like, he was, you know, for some reason he hated us. I don't know whether I, you know, met him once. And normally if you meet me once, you hate me. So that's probably what it was. But yeah, he just updated with the most ridiculous things. He'd be like, what was one of them? He'd be like, you know, I don't know if it's possible to give your iPhone a virus, but I think my iPhone's got a virus since I've installed this app, and nothing works anymore. And you could tell he was just making this stuff up. But, you know, for a while it really got to us. You know, this guy every week, 1 star. And back then it used to always go back to the top. You know, the one that left the most recent review this is before Apple kind of changed the way all that stuff works. And after a while we just said, you know what, forget about it. Like, we don't care about the App Store reviews. You know, we do want people to leave us 5 stars, but if people leave us negative comments, then I think that's almost better than getting, you know, 3 stars. I'd rather get a 5 and 1 than a 3, because it feels like then, okay, some people really love our product and that's great, and if other people hate it, then, you know, maybe it's not for them. Like, who cares? Like, you don't have to try and please everyone. I guess that's what that comes down to as well. The other one is that failure is natural. You know, people here might have been talking about how successful they are, but I guess what they often don't tell you is about all the things they've failed in. I think we currently have about 8 apps in the App Store, and only 2 of them are actually successful. Like, and what I mean by that is that on some of the other ones, we might have earned like $1 an hour, considering the kind of effort, you know, we put in and all the development time, you know, we kind of put into them. And if you ask someone, you know, do you want to work for $1 an hour? I mean, how many people here would want to work for $1 an hour? Somebody? Nobody? All right. So that's my point, is that sometimes you fail. Like, the App Store is a crowded place, and there's nothing necessarily wrong with that. You just, you know, you pick yourself up and try again. You know, if the idea, you know, maybe wasn't right, or, you know, you haven't done it well. Like, I'll give you an example. Even with Pocket Cast, which is considered to be, you know, moderately successful, it's still not doing as well as we kind of hoped it would. Like, we made, I guess, Pocket Weather for the Australian market, and that had done really well, and almost like a one-hit band, really. We made that one cool song, and that's it. No one sort of heard of us ever since then. But even that's kind of not doing as well as we thought it would. And we thought, either we can dump this and sort of start something else, or, we can just try and redesign it. So at the moment, we spent about 2 months just doing a complete sort of redesign of the entire application. We thought, because this is an application that we really wanted to use, and that we never really quite got it to the point where we wanted to get it. So we're just like, you know what, stuff this. We're gonna spend 2 months. We're gonna get it right. We're gonna get to exactly what we wanted in the first place. And if that doesn't work, then that doesn't work. But at least you can say that I've tried it. I think that's the worst thing. If you get to version 1, doesn't sell very well, you're like, oh, turf that idea, go on. Like, you kind of have to get the product to kind of its logical end, and then if that's still not successful, then not much you can do about it at that point. And then the last one kind of flows out of all that stuff is that, yeah, okay, App Store success is hard. Like, you've heard the other guys here say it's a bit like a lottery, and sometimes it is. Like, sometimes I wonder if the only reason we were successful is because we got in early and first. We were there sort of 3 years ago, and we've been there ever since. But, it's worth a try anyway. I'm glad I did it. I reckon even if we hadn't made $120 back, I reckon it still would have been fun, and, we might still sort of be making sort of free apps on the side to this day. It's just been a lot more fun than, anything else you could do. Like, you can do enterprise development, you can do sort of client work for hire, like for other people. But at the end of the day, getting to build your own products and then getting to actually see people with those products on their phone, that's all right. This is the last slide anyway. This is kind of cool. Look at that. Woo! It's very cool. And that's kind of all I had to say. So thanks for listening.
Thank you. Well, thank you, Russell, for putting up with that